for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Council Member Jerry Maynard.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you humbly to thank you for this day, thank you for the opportunity to serve you and to serve your people. God, we thank you for this special opportunity to recognize and honor the men and women who risked their lives 50 years ago to ride for freedom, so that all Americans, whether they're black or white, Jew or Gentile, can live prosperous here in this country, to live the American dream, to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We ask you, God, that you will bless them and continue to bless them as we honor them, that their legacy will never die. We thank you, Lord, because many of us in this room would not be here but for their service, but for their sacrifice, but for the risk of their life. We thank you, Lord, for the spirit by which they served this great country, that we are one people celebrating their life, celebrating one God. And we will then, God, conduct ourselves in a manner of dignity as they conducted themselves in a matter of dignity 50 years ago. We do all these things in your name, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of our May 3rd, 2011? With no objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, ma'am, there are not.
Thank you. We have a couple of presentations this evening. I'd first like to call on Councilman Matthews.
This evening, I'm presenting a resolution recognizing Nashville's nonprofit Youth Speaks Nashville. Whereas there are hundreds of vibrant, active nonprofit and charitable organizations in Nashville and Davidson County that serve our community, and whereas the nonprofit sector is a significant contributor to our economic well-being, contributing to the employment and gross income of our local economy, and whereas Youth Speaks Nashville offers creative solutions for youth to build literacy and presentation skills, reconnect to their education and to their lives, and act as leaders in the improvement of their communities. And whereas through its mission, Youth Speaks Nashville seeks to combine education, arts, and youth leadership together with spoken word in one of the most innovative literacy development tools over the past decade. And whereas Youth Speaks Nashville is one of the leading nonprofit presenters of spoken word performance, education, and youth development programs, and whereas in only its second year, Youth Speaks Nashville has reached 2,100 students as part of in-school residencies and performances, 150 students as part of after-school workshops, 3,600 audience members as part of 33 community performances, and reached 3,500 online views on Nashville Youth Speaks spoken word videos. And whereas they have established workshop series with the Nashville Public Library, Monroe Harding Bridge Program of the YMCA, Oasis Center, Juvenile Detention Center, Vanderbilt Psychiatric Hospital, through Vanderbilt Cultural Enrichment, YEAH, YCAP, and YMCA Art Embrace, traveled to Washington, Chicago, and Los Angeles to participate in international poetry festivals, and initiated and produced annual events at Vanderbilt, TSU, Belmont, and Lipscomb that bring youth poets onto college campuses to perform and interact with college poets. And whereas they have performed at the Davidson County School Board, Leadership Nashville, the Davidson County Dropout Conference, the Tennessee State Senate, and with Governor Brisson at Martin Luther King Jr. Academic Magnet in celebration of MLK Day. And whereas Youth Speaks Nashville work has been made possible through the generous support of the Metro Nashville Arts Commission, Tennessee Arts Commission, Humanities Tennessee, Memorial Foundation, the William N. Rollins Fund for the Arts of the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, the Nashville Public Library Foundation, South Arts, and the National Endowment for the Arts. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognizes Youth Speaks Nashville on their commitment to positively impacting the lives of youth and families in our city. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Section 1, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing Nashville's nonprofit Youth Speaks Nashville. Section 2, the Metropolitan Council Office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to Mr. Benjamin Smith on behalf of the Youth Speaks Nashville. And Section 3, this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption, the welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County requiring it. Sponsored by Councilman Lionel Matthews, Council at Large Ronnie Stein, and Council Member Vivian Wilhoit. Mr. Benjamin Smith could not be with us today, the Executive Director of Youth Speaks, but this program is a very powerful program that empowers our youth, and it teaches them to fearlessly step on stage and be able to present themselves and face different issues. And tonight we'll have two poets to present to us and accept this resolution. We'll have Ren Willocks from the Big Picture High School and Alexis Woodard from Lead Academy.
I have many imperfections. Speech impediment. The tip of my tongue takes too long, slowing to savor the sounds of my S's as they preciously slip away. Such an impediment, it makes it difficult to say its name, lisp. You may not know it, but I have many imperfections, perfection. It has to be just so, and if not so, everything's a no-go. My mind goes loco and my blood burns to boil. It's called OCF. Obsessive compulsive feature. I am not perfect enough for it to be a real problem. I am not perfect. Sarcasm. Apparently doesn't work in monotone. I can't help it that my voice doesn't like to climb mountains, and when I speak, I say the opposite of what I mean. I mean, I'm perfect. She was mentally abandoned, neglected, and second-handed, bound to destruction with emotions that have been stranded, stripped of her sanity with the instant cease of her humanity, with the habit to befriend friends that haven't been friends to thee. She had a couple of daddies, one father, a father who became a worse father who was rarely thought of. Age 9, found out she was a rape baby. By the 5th grade, she had enough information to receive a streetwise PhD. She was incompletely complete with completely incomplete answers, with the heart swinging back and forth on the LEAD lanyard, but this same girl found the strengths to all her weaknesses, the truths to all the secrets, discovered her talents and discovered her reasons, and now she's on the news. Headlines, the girl who made it.
Councilman Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, to our colleagues. And no question about it, we need to bring those young ladies up so they can read this resolution rather than Parker and myself. We're going to be, Jim, say second. Anyway, Vice Mayor, tonight we pause to honor one of Nashville's finest. It is one from our Metropolitan Nashville Police Department. He's Commander Michael Alexander. Commander Alexander serves in the South Precinct, and he does a wonderful job. We're blessed because we have 2 precincts in our district. We have the Hermitage as well as the South. Michael Alexander, he communicates well with all the council members. He comes out to our community meeting. He takes a lot of first-line questions from the citizen, and he does an excellent job in communicating. Tonight, his colleagues across the country have stopped to recognize him, and now I'm asking this body as well as the Nashville audience to recognize him and salute him on a great job. It is at this time Councilman Parker Tola will read the resolution.
Thank you. I'd like to ask all the folks that the South Precinct serves to stand with us, please. Resolution 2011-1621, a resolution recognizing and congratulating South Precinct Commander Michael Alexander of the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department on receiving the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Public Service Award. Whereas the Public Service Award is a designation awarded by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which recognizes individuals as a point person in working with NHTSA to assist other police agencies in the United States develop and implement innovation enforcement strategies in areas where data shows in high correlation between crime and serious traffic crashes. Whereas Commander Alexander continues to perform his duties with the utmost profession, experience, and knowledge as he continues to protect the communities of Nashville, and also willing to provide his leadership and expertise to other law enforcement agencies around the country. Whereas during his career with the Metropolitan Police Department, he has remained dedicated to the honor of his profession, helpful to all in need, and respect by both his colleagues and many in the community. Whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognize and congratulate Commander Michael Alexander on his award and acknowledging the hard work and dedication you have exhibited throughout your career, and we wish you continued success in coming year. Now, whereas, be it resolved by the Council of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Section 1, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing and congratulating South Precinct Commander Michael Alexander of the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department on receiving the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration Public Service Award. Section 2, the Metropolitan Council Office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to the South Precinct Commander Michael Alexander. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect from and after its adoption. The welfare of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville-Davidson County requiring it adopted this May 3rd, 2011, and signed under our hands Councilman Sam Coleman, Councilman Parker Toller, Councilman Dwayne Dominic, and signed by our mayor. Thank you very much. Get Sam on one side. We'd like to further say this, that we appreciate all the members of the Metropolitan Police Department that are here tonight with Commander Alexander. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to Councilman Coleman and Councilman Toller, as well as all the other council members that we work with on a daily basis. It's very much appreciated. I do firmly believe that the police department, the citizens of Nashville have a police department under the direction and leadership of Chief Anderson that they can be very proud of. The police department that is continually looking for ways to improve how we deliver police services to the community. We're very much moving forward every day, and we do feel good about that under the direction and leadership of the chief. So we're working hard every day. It should also be noted that every other sworn and civilian member of the department has contributed in some sort of way to this recognition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wilhoit, did you wish to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you very much. Vice Mayor, members of council, and the viewing audience, I am honored to ask for this opportunity so that we can show our appreciation and say thank you to some very courageous citizens whom 50 years ago made the decision to change America for the right. There's an old Christian song that says, "If it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? where would I be? I take that as encouragement to say, if it had not been for the Lord to give us freedom riders like Mr. Kwame Lillard, Dr. Edith Simpson Ray, Dr. Mary Jean Smith, Dr. Alan Kaysen Jr., Dr. Freddie Leonard, Dr. Ernest Rip Patton, Dr. Patricia Jenkins Armstrong, Miss Celine McCullum, Miss Joy Leonard, Mr. Matthew Walker Jr., and along with their sit-in participants who are here with them today, I say, where would we be? Where would we be? And we know the answer to that. Let's thank the Freedom Riders who are here with us tonight on the 50th anniversary. Thank you.
She did a good job. We are now at the point on our agenda for elections and confirmations.
Freedom Rider, Mr. Matthew Walker, has some comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council Lady Wilhart, for initiating and executing this proclamation. Thank you, members of the Metropolitan Council, for this gracious accommodation. We are honored, humbled, and inspired by this affirmation of our actions of 50 years ago. The Freedom Rides were started in May of 1961 by 13 people and ended 7 months later with more than 400 people having taken part. The riders were approximately 50% white and 50% black, marking the first time the races joined forces on a grand scale to combat racism. An ad hoc Freedom Rider organization quickly sprung up to send riders into Jackson via 3 primary staging cities, New Orleans, Nashville, and Montgomery. In September 1961, bowing to pressure from the Attorney General and the Civil Rights Movement, the ICC issued the necessary orders and new policies went into effect on November 1, 1961. Passengers were permitted to sit wherever they pleased on interstate buses and trains. White and colored signs came down in terminals. Separate drinking fountains, toilets, and waiting rooms were consolidated, and the lunch counters began serving people regardless of race. The riots helped jumpstart the movement in Mississippi, which had seen only one sit-in action during all of 1960. 43 Mississippians participated in the riots. For many, it was their first exposure to the movement, but it would not be their last. Rioters also demonstrated to the movement itself that nonviolent direct action and jail no bail offered a successful way forward. These tactics would be used again and again in campaigns over the next few years and lead the movement to its signal victories, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Freedom Rides expanded the realm of the possible in American politics, redefining the limits of dissent and setting the stage for the civil rights movement. This novel form of civic engagement provided a classic demonstration of Margaret Mead's oft-repeated observation to never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. What we saw was the emergence of grassroots politics with ordinary people taking it upon themselves to push the edge of the envelope when it came to social change and fighting for social justice and racial equality. Nashville's role in the Freedom Ride cannot be overstated. When the riots started, our fair city had a firm support base for movement activities in place for over a year. Our local social action won praise from Dr. Martin Luther King when he spoke here the day after Attorney Luby's house was bombed in April 1960. The fact that Nashville became the first major southern city to desegregate its public lunch counters clearly portrayed the potential of nonviolent direct action. So when the original core group of rioters called it quits, citing the heinous violence of Anniston and Birmingham, local students seasoned by the sit-ins and other successful direct action initiatives were appalled at the prospect of violence killing the movement. Discussion of what to do was intense and extensive, but a consensual decision was finally reached. We were determined to do what the Spirit say do. Music City sent 36 students and adults to Birmingham, Montgomery, and Jackson, bringing the riots back to life between May 17th and 24th, 1961. Nashville became a key supplier of Freedom Riders with its recruiting and training activities throughout the summer of 1961. The Athens of the South became a launching pad for many of the civil rights movement leaders of the 60s and beyond. With such a rich civil rights history, it is difficult to understand why our fair city has yet to erect a monument or memorial of this part of our past. A partial listing of southern cities which have constructed substantial, standalone civil rights monuments or memorials includes Richmond, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Montgomery and Birmingham, Alabama, Albany and Atlanta, Georgia, Oxford and Jackson, Mississippi, Gainesville and Lake Worth, Florida, Little Rock, Arkansas, Greensboro, North Carolina, to name a few. In the 60s, one of our more popular movement songs was "Keep Your Eyes on the Prize, Hold On." We are holding on for some progress on this issue. Would not such a monument or memorial have a positive effect on today's youth? And speaking of today's youth, Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Arkansas, Colorado, and Michigan have passed legislation regarding instruction in black history. Does Nashville have to wait for the state to act in this area? Or should Nashville lead the state in enlightening the curriculum of our public schools? Today, we live in a global village, and as a southern city, it is in our collective best interest to distance ourselves from the intolerance of the past. A civil rights and black history component of our public school instruction would go a long way to bringing Music City into the forefront of those places considered by multinational corporations to locate new facilities. Now that we have traveled from "we shall overcome" to "yes, we can," I ask you, honorable members of this Metropolitan Council, where do we go from here? Thank you.
Councilman Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We're on elections and confirmations.
The public trustee.
Yes, ma'am. Public trustee. The Rules and Confirmations Committee met and considered Mr. Michael Castellarian, and the committee approved 8-4, 9-4, 1, and 0 against, and I move his approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there a motion to elect by acclamation?
So moved.
And a second. Mr. Castellarian, are you with us? Would you please stand? And I understand that Judge Kennedy, a former council member, is with you as well. Would like to recognize him. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Congratulations. Councilman Adkins.
The next was an appointment to the Fair Board, appointment of Ms. Gail Ray, our former sheriff here in town. And the committee approved 8-4, none against, and I move her approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All the other appointments, which were reappointments, were deferred by rule.
Thank you. Ms. Gilray, will you stand and let us recognize you, and thank you. Councilman Tiger.
Yes, ma'am. I was just wondering what the deferral by rule pertained to.
Council.
Rule 40 requires that the questionnaires that the Rules Committee has developed be returned and mailed to the members of the Rules Committee at least 5 days before the vote. Otherwise, they're to be deferred, and we did not receive the information from 2 of the appointees tonight, and then one of them was unable to come.
Who is responsible for that mailing and the subsequent follow-up to ensure that the appointees receive their mail?
The clerk's office mails the information to them, and then they're to complete it and return it to the clerk's office.
And is there a procedure if that system breaks down? Do we know if there's a follow-up from any other department or individual?
Well, there may be from the mayor's office who makes the appointments, but
could we get a confirmation of that, Madam Vice Mayor? Ms. Swing was responding.
The clerk's office follows up if the questionnaire is not received.
And
we send a subsequent.
Before or after the 5-day period reaches?
Before the 5-day period.
Okay.
They're usually given a couple of days.
I think we just need to review, because Ms. Jones has been a loyal member of the Planning Commission for many, many years, and apparently received a phone call this morning from the mayor's office instructing her to be here and to take a picture with the mayor, the ceremonial picture, before being escorted up here. So I personally would like to apologize, Ms. Jones, who is still here, for the inconvenience that we have caused you, and sorry this has happened, and this is not any way that we should treat a loyal servant and a loyal member of a board or commission. So I personally thank you and wish you luck.
Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. How is the clerk notified who to send these questionnaires to? Where does that information come from?
The mayor submits a letter of nomination for each of the...
Was there a letter of nomination submitted for Ms. Jones?
Yes.
When?
They're always submitted the council meeting prior, and you get a notice on your desk.
Did you receive Ms. Jones back, or do you know if she received it? Was it actually mailed to her?
No, the mayor sends a letter to the council, which he files in our office. At that point, the day after the council meeting, we notified the nominees of the date of the confirmation hearing and the date by which they should file their questionnaire.
Did we receive the letter from the mayor's office? Did the council get the letter?
We received the letter. The letter is an official appointment letter.
Did you get the letter from Ms. Jones?
The letter is from the mayor to the council. Then we turn around and send an email to the nominee.
What I'm trying to get to, did the council receive that letter that triggers this process to get the questionnaire submitted to Ms. Jones?
The council received it in that it was filed with the clerk. We don't provide copies of all of these letters to the council members.
So,
we provide the memo.
So why was the questionnaire not sent out then to?
No, it was sent out. She did not return it. She did not complete it and return it.
I don't believe she received a questionnaire is what I understand. Yeah. But
I think we can look into this more.
Yeah, because I've had the privilege of serving with Ms. Jones on the Planning Commission for the last now going on 4 years, almost 4 years. I've also had the privilege of appearing before her many times in the last almost 8 years with planning issues over at the Planning Commission. And I'm just here to tell you, she's one of the best members that we've had on that Planning Commission. And I echo Charlie's or Councilman Tigard's comments that I want to sincerely apologize, Ms. Jones, for the oversight and thank you for your service. Thank you.
Councilman Crafton.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper, I have a question. If a person has been on a board, as Ms. Jones has, and done a great job, I echo my fellow folks' Gatto and Tigard sentiments. I echo those. If someone has been on a commission before and their questionnaire is on file, wouldn't that serve the requirements?
If it's a reappointment, all they would have to do is contact the clerk's office by phone and say, my information has not changed. I wish to use the same questionnaire that is on file. But I mean, the clerk's office can't provide that without the appointee requesting that.
Okay. Well, maybe she can call in. I yield the rest of my time to Councilman Gatto.
I don't think there is time right now because we're not on a bill. Councilman Gatto.
I have a question for Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper, would a motion to suspend the rules and consider her nomination this evening be appropriate? Can I make such a motion?
Yes, sir.
I move to suspend the rules and consider the nomination of Ms. Jones immediately.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
We'd have to have a suspension of the rules, so you have to see if there's no objection.
Right. Is there any objection to a suspension? There is an objection.
I only see one.
Okay.
Identify them in a minute.
It takes two.
It takes two to object. Maynard, Lalone, Mitchell. So we cannot suspend the rules. We're going to proceed now with our agenda. The first is RS 2011-1534, removes members of the Metropolitan Board of Fair Commissioners. Councilman Crafton.
Committee report.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
The committee voted to defer 4 to defer 0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Crafton.
Vice Mayor, the committee voted at the request of the sponsor to defer indefinitely 4-0 against.
Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With the appointment of Sheriff Ray, I just felt that it was appropriate to give her time to get settled into the board and make a positive impact. So I want to defer this indefinitely to give them a chance to work on the master plan with her as part of the team.
We have a motion and a second for indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Without objection, we will consider RS 2011-1633. It amends the capital improvements budget for fiscal year 2011 to modify the description of the project related to the Lentz Healthcare Center. Seeing no objection, Council, okay? Is there an objection? Okay, we have one, we have two. Okay, we will not consider.
Vice Mayor.
We can't consider it. Sorry, we can't consider it. There was an objection.
May I ask a parliamentary question?
We can't consider it.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Vice Mayor or Mr. Cooper, when could it be considered legally?
Well, it'll automatically go on the next agenda. It was Marilyn was gone and I was gone last week, and so it was submitted in time. It just didn't get signed in time and filed with the clerk. That's the reason there was a
So it'll be on our agenda at the
rules.
next meeting. Next is RS 2011-1634, approves an amendment to a contract for the continued employment of Don W. Jones as part-time special counsel for the Metro County Council. Councilman Hunt.
Move for approval, Madam President.
Executive committee report, if you could.
I don't think it was 16-0.
Okay. Yeah.
The executive committee approved this 16-4-0 against. Do we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Next is RS 2011-1635, approves an agreement between the City of Lakewood and Metro government regarding the disposition and assumption of Lakewood's assets and liabilities. Councilmember Jernigan.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 11-4-0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks approve 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilman Jernigan.
Move approval. Brief comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Thank you. This has been going on for about a year and a half now, and it's time for Lakewood, I've said, to join the mothership. So we're as of with this interlocal agreement, Lakewood's already passed, and after we pass tonight, then Metro will accept it as of midnight, May 28th. This does not mean you can speed through Lakewood. This is they're still going to be out there patrolling. So with that, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor. Councilman Crafton, you wish to speak?
I just had a quick question. It says we're incurring liabilities. Do we know what the dollar value of the liabilities we're incurring? Or are they theoretical?
It's in the analysis. Let me see. It is liabilities of $517,691, assets of $1.3 million.
All right.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
I'm scared.
RS 2011-1637 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to exercise an option to purchase this Cornelia Ford Airport property for use as part of the Shelby Bottoms Greenway. Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning voted to approve 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Cole.
Move approval with brief comments.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Appreciate all of your consideration in this. This has been a multi-year endeavor. This is the first element of our the enactment of our open space plan here in the city, and it's a common sense acquisition that I think will go a long way towards improving green space not only at Shelby Park and Shelby Bottoms, but across the county as we start to use our capital funds for green space acquisition. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion.
Dual.
We'll have to have a machine vote.
Who did? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, yeah.
Has everyone voted?
I shouldn't have spoken.
Madam Clerk?
Ayes 35, noes 1.
Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1638, approves a grant package from the Friends of Warner Park to Metro Parks and Recreation Department to provide staffing for the Warner Park Center. Councilmember Mitchell.
Move approval.
Councilmember Berry.
Committee Budget and Finance voted 11-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Maynard.
Parks approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1639 approves an application for the Our Town grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to the Arts Commission. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 11-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1640 approves an application for a state residential drug court treatment grant to the Davidson County Drug Court. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Public Safety voted to approve 5-4, 0 against. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1641 approves an application for a state residential substance abuse treatment grant to the Davidson County Drug Court. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1642 approves an intergovernmental agreement between the U.S. Department of Justice Drug and the Metro Police Department for assistance with the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval.
And your committee report?
1642.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Move for approval. 5-4, against.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1643 approves an application for a state grant to the Metro Police Department for the continuation of the Enhanced DUI Enforcement Initiative. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety voted to approve 5-4, against. Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1644 approves an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Winchester for the distribution of state grant funds to assist with the investigation of internet crimes against children. Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Public Safety voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1645 appropriates federal grant funds to the Metro Action Commission for the Head Start program. Councilmember Barry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted approved 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1646 approves an amendment to a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to the Metro Social Services Commission for meal delivery services to eligible seniors. Councilmember Barry.
Committee report, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1647 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Board of Health and SciTech International LLC for operation of automobile emissions testing program. Councilmember Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital voted to approve 6-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1648 approves an amendment to a contract between the Metro Health Department and the National Step Show Alliance for the implementation of a diabetes project. Councilmember Barry.
And thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1649 approves an annual state grant to the Metro Health Department for tobacco use prevention services. Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1650 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Metro Health Department for operation of the Women, Infants, and Children's Program. Councilmember Barry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1651 approves an annual state grant to the Metro Board of Health to support the delivery of local health services. Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4, against.
Councilmember Barry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. 1651 passes. RS 2011-1652 approves an amendment to a federal grant to the Metro Board of Health for the continued collection of data for the ambient air concentrations of fine particulate matter. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1653 approves an amendment to a federal grant to the Metro Board of Health to enhance access to community-based care for low-income individuals and families with HIV. Councilman Forcum.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 11-4-1 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1654 approves a business associate agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Lane College to provide safeguards to prevent the use or disclosure of protected health information. Councilmember Berry.
Committee report, please.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
With committee reports in, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1655 approves the contract for services between Metro Board of Health and Lane College for the historically black community colleges and universities wellness project. Councilmember Berry.
Committee report, please.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. 1655 passes. RS 2011-1656 approves a business associate agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Knoxville College to provide safeguards to prevent the use or disclosure of protected health information. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1657 approves the contract between the Metro Board of Health and Knoxville College for the historically black community colleges and universities wellness project. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted approved, 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1658 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to cover administrative costs associated with providing programs and services to assist dislocated workers, adults, and youth facing barriers to employment. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toller.
Parker.
Oh, goodness. Goodness.
Okay, we're going to move on to RS 2011-1660, approves an amendment to a state grant to Metropolitan. 1660 approves an amendment to a state grant to Metro government for reimbursement of flood-related expenses. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 1660 passes. We'll now go back to RS 2011-1658. Approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to cover administrative costs associated with providing programs and services to assist dislocated workers, adults, and youth facing barriers to employment. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Toller.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. You got there a little faster than I thought. Personnel approved 8 and 0.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 fours and 0 against, so I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1659, approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide training opportunities for dislocated workers. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Toller.
Personnel approved 8 for, 0 against. Thank you.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 for, 0 against, and I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1661, approves an application for a hazard mitigation grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and authorizes the Department of Water and Sewage Service to acquire 33 homes and 3 vacant lots located within various floodways, floodplains in Davidson County. Councilman Claiborne.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 6 for, 0 against.
Councilman Claiborne.
Move for approval and to make a very brief comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
Just wanted to let the folks in the 15th District know that this package of homes includes properties on Miami and on the northern end of Pennington Bend Road. Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1662 voids a previous agreement between Metro Government and Williamson County to improve the sewer service to the town of Nolensville Fire Hall located at 7347 Nolensville Road and approves a new participation agreement for this project. Councilmember Berry.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 6 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 for, 0 against. I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1663 approves a cooperative agreement between the Department of Water and Sewage Services and the U.S. Department of Interior Geological Survey for the continuation of a program of water quality monitoring. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve 6 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 for, 0 against, and I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1664 approves an intergovernmental agreement between the State of Tennessee, State Department of Transportation, and Metro Public Works for traffic signal upgrades at various intersections in the Hermitage area. Councilman Gatto.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 6 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Gatto.
Move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Opposed,
no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1665 approves a licensing agreement with the CSX Transportation for the purpose of constructing water facilities located in the railroad right-of-way for the Washington Combined Sewer Overflow Facility. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think there's an amendment.
Actually, let's get committee reports first. Committee reports first. Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works voted to approve as amended 6 for, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve as amended 13 for, 0 against, and I move.
Mr. Cooper.
The amendment substitutes the contract to reflect a change in the scope of the project. Instead of having to bore a tunnel to install these facilities, they're going to be able to do it in a more cost-effective way. So this agreement reflects the change in project.
We have a motion on the amendment. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilmember Berry.
I move the bill as amended.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 1665 passes. RS 2011-1666 authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the claim of Deborah Eli against Metro government in the amount of $9,000. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports. Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Yeah.
On first reading, the rules must be suspended to take the capital improvements budget as a late item by charter. It's to be filed by May 15th. It was filed in time, but like every other year, that's after our the council meeting filing deadline. So every year we suspend the rules to take this item on first reading. It has to be approved on third reading not later than June 15th by charter.
Is there any objection to the consideration of BL 2011-921, the capital improvements budget for Metro government? Seeing no objection, is there a motion for its approval? Second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion for all other bills? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving all other bills on introduction and first reading, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We're now at bills on second reading. The first is BL 2010-822, amends the Metro Code to prohibit persons serving on the Metro government boards or commissions from engaging in lobbying activity. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The committee deferred 2 meetings at the request of the sponsor, 9-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Holland.
I would ask the previous speaker to clarify, was that a committee deferral or one made at the...
Sorry.
I apologize. That was a committee deferral. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to defer 2 meetings.
We have a motion and a second to defer 2 meetings, and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2010-825 amends the Metro Code to provide for free parking for vehicle owners that purchase carbon offsets. Councilman Tigert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance approved as substituted, 12-4, 0, 1 against.
Councilman Adkins.
Traffic and parking approved 4-4, none against on the substitute as well.
Thank you. Councilman Tigert.
I would move the substitute bill.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman.
I would move the bill as substituted with a very brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman.
The adjustments in the substitute make this bill mirror what the council passed previously relating to the parking, downtown parking for hybrid vehicles or energy efficient vehicles, and these were changes suggested to bring them in line with that bill. So with that, I move for approval.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. RS 2011-835 amends the Metro Code to eliminate the minimum charge for livery services. Councilman Crafton.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
The committee, Budget and Finance, deferred 2 meetings, 13-4, 0 against.
Councilman Ryman.
Convention Tourism Committee deferred 2 meetings, 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety also deferred 2 meetings, 6-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Page.
Transportation and Aviation also deferred 2 meetings.
Councilman Crafton.
I don't know, why don't we defer it 2 meetings?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of a 2-meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-903 amends the Metro Code to require written notifications to property owners when their property is included in a floodway or floodplain for the first time. Councilman Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved, 5 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Coleman.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-904 approves the transfer of a telecommunications franchise from DukeNet Communications LLC to DukeNet OpCo LLC. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel approved, 8-4-0 against. Thank you.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-905 approves an agreement between Metro Government, Tennessee State University, Meharry Medical College, and Jefferson Street Merchants Partnership for the maintenance of streetscape improvements along I-40 at Jefferson Street and 28th Avenue. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
And Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved, 5 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval with an explanation, please.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
This is going to make Jefferson Street, which is a historic street, which runs through part of the 21st District, is going to make it just absolutely beautiful right there under the interstate. And with that, I would like to renew my motion for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-906 readopts the Metro Code to include supplemental and replacement pages containing certain ordinances adopted on or before December 20, 2010. Councilman Adkins.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First, the committee report for the Rules and Confirmations Committee was 9-4, none against. I move approval with a brief explanation.
Councilman.
This is just our normal course of business in readopting the Code of Metropolitan Government when we have supplemental changes, and so I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-907 amends the Metro Code to transfer the administration of vehicle emissions testing program to the county clerk. Councilman Forcum.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to defer indefinitely, 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted to defer indefinitely, and I move for an indefinite deferral.
What was your vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. 6-4-0 against.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Indefinite deferral passes. BL 2011-909 authorizes the acquisition of 2 utility easements for the Whites Creek Water Main Project. Councilman Hunt.
She skipped me. Committee reports, please.
I'm sorry, I skipped one.
Thank you.
I'll come back. BL 2011-908 accepts a donation of 100 bicycles from Regions Financial Corporation to the Metro Board of Health for the purpose of promoting active living. Councilman Forcum.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted actively to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcum.
Health and Hospitals voted to approve 6-4-0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now, we're at BL 2011-909, authorizes the acquisition of 2 utility easements for the Whites Creek Water Main Project. Councilman Hunt.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved, 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-910 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements for sidewalk improvements on Abbott Martin Road from Vailwood Drive to Cross Creek Road. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 5 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against. I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-911 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements for sidewalk improvements on Harding Place through Timber Hill Drive to Danby Drive. Councilmember Hodge.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, against.
Councilmember Hodge.
Public Works approved 5-4-0 against. Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-912 amends the Metro Code to create an Office of Administrative Hearing Officer. Councilmember Tigert.
Councilmember Tigert.
At the request of the Codes Department, I would move for a one-meeting deferral.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to defer 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Codes, Fair, and Farmers Market Committee approved to defer one meeting, 4-0 against.
We have a motion for a one-meeting deferral. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. One meeting deferral passes. BL 2011-915 approves a lease agreement between Metro Government and the Center for Charter School Excellence in Tennessee for the use of property at 217 South 10th Street. Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 13-4-0 against.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Education Committee approved to for 10-4-0 against.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, against.
Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. 915 passes. We're now at bills on third reading. BL 2011-859 amends the Metro Code to allow persons owning property in Davidson County to utilize the Metro Solid Waste Convenience Centers at the same fees charged to Davidson County residents. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Having been approved by all committees, I would move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-866 approves an agreement between Metro Government and Hospital Corporation of America concerning the exchange of certain parcels of real property and construction of a new public health center. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Having been approved by all committees, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second.
Second.
Councilman Crafton, did you wish to speak or? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
We'll need a machine vote.
Why y'all do?
Madam Clerk.
Ayes 29, noes 3, 3 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2011-869, amends the Metro Code to readopt the juvenile curfew. Councilmember Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All committees having reported, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-870 amends the Metro Code related to public notice for open meetings of the Transportation Licensing Committee. Councilmember Langster.
Having been approved by all committees, I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
May I have a point of personal privilege?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your, I pressed my button, but I didn't get your attention on Bill number 2011-869. I wish to congratulate Councilman Holloman for passing and getting behind this law. I hope curfew, I hope it won't ever sunset again. And I appreciate Mr. John Streeter in District 21 calling my attention to it and let him know it is passed. It is the law. Thank you.
BL 2011-871 approves a wire and cable license agreement between Metro and Nashville and Eastern Railroad. Councilmember Moore.
All committee reports are in. I move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-872 approves a memorandum of understanding between the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, Clear Channel Communications, Inc., and Warning Systems, Inc. regarding the dissemination of emergency alert messages. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Having been previously approved by all committees, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-874 abandons, relocates, and accepts a sanitary sewer line and easement for properties traversed by Richland Creek, known as Rio Stone Quarry, in the State of Tennessee Prison. Councilmember Baker.
Being approved by all committees, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-875 abandons the sanitary sewer line and accepts a fire hydrant assembly for property located at 420 Donaldson Pike. Councilmember Claiborne.
Public Works and Planning Committee has approved this, so I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-876 abandons a water main and easement and a sanitary sewer and easement and accept a new water main and 2 fire hydrant assemblies for properties located at 1220, 1230, 1246, and 1250 Robinson Road and Robinson Road unnumbered. Councilman Jernigan.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-877 abandons a sanitary sewer main and easement and accepts a relocated sewer main and easement for properties at 219 and 221 31st Avenue North and at Long Boulevard unnumbered. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval, having been previously approved by all committees.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-878 changes .56 acres from CS to SP zoning for property located at 2610 Lebanon Pike to permit automobile sales, new and used, and automobile service. Councilman Claiborne.
This has been approved by all the committees. I'd move for approval and would like... Pardon?
Planning.
Oh.
Councilman Gatto?
I'm sorry.
Councilman Todd, I'm sorry.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Old habits. Councilman Claiborne.
I move for approval with a brief comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman?
I never thought I would be proud to say that I have a used car lot coming into my district. But in this particular instance, I'm very proud to say that this property is redeveloping in this manner. This property will exhibit all of the aspects of the UDO that we passed for the Lebanon Road corridor late in 2009. And once this is completed in the July timeframe, this property is going to shine like a new coin in a portion of Lebanon Road that needs very much to shine. And so I'm very proud to welcome this owner and to renew my motion for approval.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. 878 passes. BL 2011-879 changes 40.8 acres from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for properties located at 5000 Mountain Springs Road and at Hobson Pike unnumbered to permit 219 multifamily dwelling units. Councilman Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nabus. Committee report.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilman Coleman.
Move for passage.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-880 makes provisions to 17.18 acres of an urban design overlay to be known as the Primrose UDO to properties located at Primrose Circle and Primrose Avenue west of Brighton Avenue to apply design standards. Councilmember Lalonde.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Lalonde.
I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-881 changes 3.28 acres from CS to SP zoning for property located at 520 Collins Park Drive to permit auto sales and automobile service within an existing facility. Councilmember Coleman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nabus. Committee report.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Coleman.
Move for passage, and I'd like to give just a brief statement after.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Coleman.
Thank you. A few minutes ago, you heard Honorable Phil Claiborne talk about being so proud that a used car dealership is coming into his district. Well, I feel the same way because off Collins Park Drive, the drive time operation will be set up out there, and it's one of the finest operations in the Mid-South. But in addition to that, this is a prime example of what good competition does because Freeland has opened up a similar operation, but they've really beautified Collins Park once a drive that really looked dead and really need revitalizing. So thanks to both Freeland and Drive Time, we're going to have a nice spot there where the old Cracker Barrel used to be. Having said that, I renew my motion for passage.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-883 changes 1.22 acres from SP to DTC district for property located at 501 Church Street. Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There is an amendment. The amendment is a technical one to more properly refer to the core subdistrict and central use district designations of the downtown code, and I would move that amendment for approval.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment passes. Councilman Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Would move as amended.
Have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-884 changes 1.33 acres from IWD to MUG district for properties located at 909, 913, and 1001 8th Avenue South. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On behalf of Council Lady Gilmore, I would like to ask for the committee report, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
With all committee reports in, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-886 amends 39.53 acres of the Carrion Plan Unit Development Overlay District for property located at Bell Road unnumbered north of Couchville Pike, zoned MUL and RM9 to permit 452 multifamily dwelling units. Councilmember Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Gatto.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-887 changes .22 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for property located at 605 26th Avenue North to permit a two-story multifamily building consisting of a maximum of 9 residential units. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. All committees having reported, I move for approval.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-889 changes 1.21 acres from CS and IWD to SP zoning for property located at 601 Gallatin Pike to permit a retail establishment. Councilman Craddock.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilman Craddock.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-890 changes 2.22 acres from IWD to OG zoning for properties located at 250 and 260 Cumberland Bend. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Harrison.
Move for passage.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-891 changes 18.73 acres from ORI and IR to SP zoning for properties located at 329, 330, 331, 336, 337, 341, and 351 28th Avenue North, and at 3000 Charlotte Avenue to permit mixed-use development. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There is an amendment that's been added.
Councilman Todd?
The Planning Committee approved as amended, 8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. I move for approval with an explanation.
You're moving we have a motion on the amendment.
I move the amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilmember Langster.
Back on the bill as amended with an explanation. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember.
Thank you. This has been quite an effort between all the parties, especially Public Works and the two attorneys, and they were able to sit down and work it out because I definitely needed their help on this, but everything is worked out, and I would like to make as a part of the record this agreement, if the Sergeant at Arms could bring it up. And with that, I renew my motion on third and final consideration.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-892 changes 7.42 acres from RS-15 to AR-2A district for property located at 787, 795, and 799 Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Councilmember Gatto.
Committee report, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Gatto.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-893 changes 1.82 acres from R10 to CL District for properties located at 2905 and 2907 Elm Hill Pike. Councilmember Stanley.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Stanley.
I think there is a substitute ordinance that the committee considered, and it was passed by the Planning Commission.
Your committee considered that?
Yes.
Yes, right.
I just move approval of the substitute ordinance.
We have a motion and a second on the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes. Councilman Stanley.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second on the bill as substituted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-894 changes .76 acres from CS to MUL zoning for property located at 3710 North Natchez Court. Councilmember Page.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, against.
Councilmember Page.
With all reports being in, I ask approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-895 changes 182.38 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Bel Air Drive, Catalina Drive, Cornett Drive, Curry Road, McGavick Pike, and Vinson Drive. Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Todd.
There was an amendment, and we approved the amendment 8 in favor, 0 against, and then we also approved deferring the bill as amended for one meeting, 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Dominy.
On behalf of Councilman Birch, I move his amendment to opt out for the residents on this rezoning, and move a one meeting deferral on the bill as amended.
Is there a second on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment passes. Councilman?
Move a one meeting deferral on the amendment with a brief explanation.
Okay.
On the bill as amended.
Okay. Oh, Councilman, you have a second.
This bill is brought forward at the request of the neighbors who, with the encroachment of some duplexes, there's already a large number of duplexes north of Curry Road that have now been rezoned to RS10 or RS zoning, and they want to bring all that neighborhood along Curry Road and into Currywood Estates subdivision into compliance. Councilman Birch and I both agreed to opt out those that desire to do so, and I'm deferring it because I have 7 people that have opted out. Unfortunately, the information for them was in my car, which broke down, and I have to get that so I can request that deferral. But I move one meeting deferral. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. One meeting deferral passes.
We'll deal with that.
BL 2011-896 amends the downtown zoning code by revising the signage compliance deadline. Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Jameson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There is an amendment that alters the signage compliant deadline from July 1 of 2011 to July 1 of 2012, and I would move that amendment.
Have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendment passes. Councilman.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move as amended.
Have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-897 amends the Metro Code by revising the definitions associated with the street designations and by modifying the measurement of street setbacks for multifamily and non-residential districts and non-residential uses in AG, AR2A, R, and RS districts. Councilmember Gatto.
Committee report.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and zoning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilman Gatto.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-898 amends the Metro Code to add alternative zoning districts in the mixed-use multifamily and office districts to create walkable neighborhoods through the use of appropriate building placement and bulk standards as an alternative to a zoning district that requires a site plan. Councilman Gatto.
Committee report, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilman Gatto.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-900 amends the Metro Code by adding definitions for accessory apartment and accessory dwelling detached as a use permitted with conditions within the historic overlay districts within the RRM, OR20, OR40, and ORI zoning districts. Councilmember Lalonde.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Lalonde.
Yes, I have an amendment that I need to add that was suggested by the Planning Department that just really is a clarification of some things in the bill. So I'd like to move that amendment, please.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The amendment passes. Council member?
Yes, I'd like to move the bill, please, with a brief comment.
Have a motion and a second.
Yes, I'd just like to thank all of the other members of the council that co-sponsored this bill. Every member who has an historic overlay as part of their district has signed on to this bill. It's a wonderful bill in terms of allowing for some alternative ways of increasing density without causing some of the problems that density can cause, and really allows for some flexibility in those districts. So with that, I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-901 amends the Metro Code to create a new land use called single-family cottage development in all two-family residential zoning districts, and to make a technical change to Chapter 17.40 pertaining to variances. Councilmember Cole.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Todd.
There was an amendment, and we approved it as amended, 8-4-0 against.
Councilmember Cole.
With that, Madam Vice Mayor, I would like to move approval on the amendment, which we can explain, then move a one-meeting deferral on the legislation.
Have a motion and a second on the amendment. Councilman Cole.
The amendment is not just a clarifying or a technical change. It's a pretty significant change to the bill that was added at the request of several council members. If you look at the amendment in your packet, it limits the piece of legislation to only apply to the urban services district. It caps the number of cottage units at 12 around each central common open space. And so I would encourage you all to support the amendment, and then I'll talk a little more about the actual bill.
All in favor of the amendment? Is there any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Within the last 24 hours, you all have heard a great deal about this piece of legislation, and I want to point a couple of things out before I actually defer it. We do want to have a meeting, a workshop session with planning staff, the sponsors, interested parties. I will communicate with everybody we've heard about the bill. I think there's a lot of confusion about the legislation. At the end of the day, people may not like this as an option, but I hope that folks understand it's coming from a very real desire to offer some flexibility and some options for some pretty innovative designs in residential structures in the county. Yes, it does offer some density increase options. I think the unintended consequences that have been described to you in legislation have been maybe coming from a place of not completely understanding the legislation. So we want to take the time to let people look at it. We want to workshop it. We want to let people see what these developments look like and see the real restrictions and constrictions on what can be developed in these cottage environments. I've got a map of the USD here, which is the area where which the bill will apply to. I encourage any of you with questions or concerns to come talk to me and look at it. We will get back to everybody about when that meeting will occur. But I fully believe this is a type of development very worth pursuing in our county, and want to proceed on it, but I want to do it in a way that listens to everybody's concerns. Thank you.
Is your motion for a one or a two meeting?
It's a one meeting deferral.
We have a motion and a second on a one meeting deferral. Discussion on the deferral motion. Councilmember Berry.
I was actually going to yield my time to my friend over there. He had initially told me he was going to talk for 20 minutes, so I guess that's not going to happen. So we'll get that time back.
Councilman Forkham.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. He answered my question. He has a map. That's what I was interested in.
Councilman Claiborne.
Try to serve.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to express my appreciation to the sponsor for deferring this at least one meeting. I have a significant amount of R-zoned property in Pennington Bend, which is an overdeveloped area of my district. This could potentially impact that area in a very negative way, and so I've asked the Planning Commission to draft legislation to change that R area to RS so that we can avoid the impact of this. And I encourage other council members that have significant
portions of our property in the USD to consider doing the same thing. Thank you.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I see something like this, and obviously this is a good thing if you want it in your district, but I go back to my roots being a district council member. This is what they want to do is probably good for those of you that want this type of, but you can do this now. We've talked about this earlier. You could do this now under an SP, or if your property is zoned multifamily. Bear in mind, those of you district council members that will be coming back, and those of you that will be leaving this for someone else, what this bill does is it takes you as a district council member out of the loop. If the bill passes, then by right, the individual will have the opportunity to go before the Planning Commission, and whatever their restrictions are through Public Works or traffic and parking, they will have the right to do that as they would any other subdivision that comes before that. So that's really and truly, as far as the council is concerned, is what this particular instance does. It takes the district council member out of the ability to control what's going to be on that piece of property. So if you have property in your urban services area that's zoned R, please be sure to look at that. And I appreciate the sponsor, deferring this so that the district council members can look and see any of those areas that are R-rated there. Thank you. R-rated, yeah. R-zone.
We have a motion and a second for one meeting deferral as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion to defer passes. We're at RS 2011-1620. Request the Metro Board of Public Education to create additional academic magnet schools or abolish the academic magnets program altogether. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you. Committee report.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, Education Committee voted to defer 10-4-0 against.
Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move to defer with a brief explanation.
And one meeting or?
One.
Okay. Have a motion and a second on a one meeting deferral. Councilman.
Thank you. Unintentionally, I think I worded this original bill a little too strongly, so Mr. Cooper has been kind enough to prepare a substitute for me. Basically, what I'm seeking to do is to expand the magnet school program. I don't know if a lot of you know this or not. I found this out when I was applying to get my daughter into the magnet school program, that over 2,500 qualified students applied for 600 spots. Now that tells me that parents are letting the school system know what they're desiring. They're the consumer, and they're letting the parents know that, hey, we want more academic magnets. And so that's what I want. I want every child that qualifies to be able to attend an academic magnet in their own area of town. So we're working on that. I'm going to bring it back to you. Just so you'll know, a little food for thought. The average ACT score for an academic magnet is 26. The average ACT score for a non-academic magnet school is 17. Now that won't get you in anywhere. You don't qualify for the lottery scholarship. Can't even get into a remedial program anywhere. So we got a lot of work to do, and I'll be reporting back to you at the next council meeting. Thank you.
All in favor of a one meeting deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1636. Request the Department of Parks and Recreation to retain the current names of park properties to be acquired by Metro government in connection with the dissolution of the City of Lakewood. Councilmember Jernigan. Try again.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilman Maynard.
Parks approve 8-4-0 against.
Councilman Jernigan.
Move approval with a 15-second comment.
Have a motion and a second. Council member.
At the request of the chairman of the Parks Committee, I want to let you all know what the two parks are named because it's not listed on there. One park is a little over 60 acres and is named Victory Park. And the second is a baseball field that we're taking over, and it's called Lakewood Ballpark.
With that being said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I'm sorry, Councilman Gatto. The screen is not working right up here, so.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll just let the record reflect that was 18 seconds.
If you're counting. RS 2011-1667 calls for the resignation of Criminal Court Clerk David Torrance and requests that he be removed from office if he refuses to resign. Councilmember Tiger.
Madam Vice Mayor and members of council, this is one of the
Councilman Adkins, do you have a committee report?
Committee report, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The committee voted 8-4 and 1 abstention. The Rules and Confirmations Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would reluctantly move approval.
Have a motion and a second.
This is one of the most unpleasant moments in 20-plus years of serving this government. For when an elected official misuses the trust, it hurts every elected official. But as I watch the news reports of this action, and the next day, and even that night when emails and phone calls started coming in, I knew that this was a situation that the public was going to be outraged to such an extent that those of us who have worked so hard on our reputations and serving the community, it was going to be difficult to tell these folks that the Metro Council, the body closest to you and the one responsible for most of the actions in this city ultimately, had no recourse, no real power to do anything to remedy this situation. I wrote Mr. Torrance an email the next morning and expressed shock over the comments and the reports, and I understand things can be taken out of context, but that report was really difficult to misrepresent actions. There were several things relating to the attitude of not caring whether you were in the office or not, the misuse of taxpayer-funded vehicle, and the level of hiring sons in the office that I knew that there'd be immediate problems. So I wrote David and I talked to him about the memory of his father and the good service he'd had in the community and the Torrance name. But I said, ultimately, I think there's only going to be one resolution of this, and the honorable thing to do is to remove yourself from office voluntarily. As I asked Mr. Cooper to research and to study alternative methods, if that was not going to be a solution, it was obvious that having the Director of Law, the District Attorney, or the State Attorney General's office to study and see if there were enough grounds to oust someone for office for malfeasance was going to be a very difficult proof, a burden. And Mr. Cooper came up that there was another alternative, that the actual judges that serve in that office could determine that the office is not being managed properly and that they could choose to remove. So it is with a heavy heart that I stand before you, and I just think that, that each of us must respond to our constituents in the only manner that we have available. And I'm going to close here because although there were really three actions, the absence from the office and the hiring of the family members that were troublesome, you know, stopping and purchasing beverages, adult beverages, in government-funded and supported vehicle. So I asked the council office to ask each of our elected officials what their policies and procedures were concerning vehicles. And to me, this is a telling story as to what the real problems in this office are. And I'm just going to share briefly one of them. Mrs. Diener, our public defender, said the public defender's office has 2 Metro vehicles available, and this is concerning their policy and procedures. The IRS has determined that employee-provided vehicles are considered taxable fringe benefit if employees are allowed to drive said vehicles home. Therefore, neither myself nor this office will allow the use of Metro vehicles as a means of transportation to and from work. In addition, an employee of this office will be permitted to drive the office vehicle only if the employee completes a 6-hour defensive driving class. They must understand how to safely maneuver that vehicle and notify if there's an accident and make sure the forms are complete. And it goes on and on over the policies and procedures that this office has adopted relating to the taxpayer-funded use of a vehicle. I want to give you the answer from the Criminal Court's office. Does your office have a written policy on the use either of this personal vehicle or other vehicles assigned to your office? And the answer simply was 2 letters, no. So I stand before you asking you to consider your constituents and to send a message that we're sorry this has happened, but it's time for a change.
Councilmember Duvall.
I was going to yield some time to Charlie if you need more time. Okay. Mr. Cooper, for the audience, I signed on to Charlie's resolution, and I've had a lot of emails and contacts from my constituents. For the audience, would you kindly explain the situation? A lot of people believe the council can just step in and remove this individual, and it is a state-held position as I understand it. So if you would do that, please, and I'll yield the rest of my time to you.
Correct. It is an office that is created by state law. The council has no authority to enact any disciplinary action or to remove someone from this position. The recall provisions in the charter are not applicable to these officers. They're only applicable to the council, vice mayor, and mayor. So there's really no recourse at the council level. The only recourse would be the ouster proceedings under state law or the removal proceedings through the judges.
Thank you.
Councilman Holland.
No, thank you, Vice Mayor.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1668 proclaims May 15 through 21, 2011 as National Public Works Week. Councilman Hodge.
Committee report.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approves 6-0. I would move approval with 2 untimed comments.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Hodge.
The guys and gals in Public Works do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. You know, the unglamorous things of hauling trash and patching potholes and those necessaries. This is National Public Works Week. But in addition to that, I want you to know that our Public Works Department has been nominated for, and it will receive in September, a national award for the work they did in last year's flood. Well deserved. One other thing, Mark Macy, who many of us interface with in the Public Works Department on a regular basis, is currently serving as president of the Tennessee State chapter of the American Public Works Association. With that, I renew my motion for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1669. Request the Metro Arts Commission to install a work of public art commemorating the sit-in movement in Nashville and the Freedom Riders, and request the Metro Historical Commission to provide the appropriate language to be included on a plaque identifying the artwork. Councilmember Wilhoit.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Todd.
Planning approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, Councilmember, just want to briefly say that Councilor Gilmore could not be here to move this piece of legislation. This is something that has also been embraced by the Black Caucus, but we understand that the movement of the Freedom Riders as well as for the sit-in is something that we all can embrace, and this is about all of us. So I appreciate your approval.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Can we get through the agenda first? We have a late filed resolution recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders. Councilmember Wilhoit, what is the nature of the emergency?
The nature of the emergency, Vice Mayor, as earlier has stated, is that this is May the 17th, and unfortunately we did not foresee the vision that the 17th was on us as the day of the 50th anniversary.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules? Seeing none, Councilmember Wilhoit, do you have a motion?
Yes, I have a motion to approve, and I'd like to just very briefly read the resolution that recognized the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders of 1961.
Councilmember Adkins, I'm sorry, we're getting a little...
Thank you. The committee report was 9-4, none against. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adkins. Thank you very much.
And Councilmember Wilhoit, do you have a motion?
Yes, I have a motion to approve, and this...
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Wilhoit, we're being a little unruly up here on the front row, so we've got to...
That's okay, they'll get better. I'm praying for them, no doubt. And the resolution reads, because the Freedom Riders had to leave, some was unable to move around as they would like to, so it was very timely for us to let them be able to leave. But the resolution reads, whereas 50 years ago, America was struggling to implement the ideas of justice and equality set forth in our founding, the Freedom Riders, organized in the spring of 1961, were an interracial nonviolence effort to protest the practice of segregation. And whereas the original Freedom Riders set out from Washington, D.C. on May 4th, 1961, risking their lives in a time when segregation was decreed by local and state laws throughout the South, despite the federal prohibitions against the Jim Crow restrictions on the movements of Black Americans. And whereas the Freedom Riders' Greyhound bus was firebombed in Anniston, Alabama, while another group of that first wave of riders were attacked in Birmingham, Alabama. And whereas the original ride was called off due to excessive violence. However, from May 17th through the 21st, 1961, a total of 22 students, 21 from Nashville, brought the rides back to life by riding to Birmingham, Alabama, and subsequently to Montgomery, Alabama, while they were assaulted by a vicious mob of hundreds. And whereas an additional 27 students and adults rode the first two buses to the dreaded destination of Jackson, Mississippi on May 24th, 13 from Nashville. And whereas Nashville became a major focus point for recruiting and training rioters throughout the summer of 1961. And whereas through their defiant journeys, the Freedom Riders sent a resounding message to the rest of America that desegregation was a moral imperative, creating a spirit that motivated and mobilized the next generation of civil rights leaders and inspired many of those involved to become lifelong activists, organizers, and leaders in the civil rights movement. And whereas this monumentous event calls upon all citizens of Nashville, both young and young at heart, to participate in ceremonies and activities that honor the Freedom Riders and all those who struggle for equal rights and the core human values of truth, love, and nonviolence. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council recognize today, May 17, 2011, as the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders, and to commemorate May 17th of each year of this historical occasion. Now, therefore, if it be resolved by the Council of Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, Section 1, the Metropolitan Council hereby goes on record as recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Riders of 1961. Section 2, the Metropolitan Council office is directed to prepare a copy of this resolution to be presented to survivors, those you saw today, of the Freedom Rides. And Section 3, this resolution shall take effect from from and after its adoption, the welfare of the metropolitan government of Nashville-Davidson County requiring it. And I thank you that all council members did sign this resolution. Thank you for recognizing what was done 50 years ago, because we all do so deserve to thank them. Thank you.
Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Since we have our own licensed minister, I wonder if we could prevail upon Councilman Maynard to say a quick prayer asking God to grant favor on our friend John Cooper's upcoming surgery.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Dear God, we stand in unity together in one spirit with one voice, proclaiming your blessings and your healing power on our dear brother, Brother Cooper. We ask you, Lord, that you will touch the mind and the body and the instruments of the healthcare providers. Allow them to do the best to give healthcare at the level of excellence. We ask you, Lord, that you touch John's family, give them the patience and the peace during this time of recovery. Give him strength. Allow him to know that you are with him. And that, God, we know that all things are possible through you. And we ask all this in your name we pray. Amen.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? We are adjourned.
Yeah, I'll look forward to doing that.